certainly core flex programs are not for every organization. I'd recommend starting with an analysis of your program's details purely from a metrics perspective and move on to other more abstract concepts from there. What do I mean by this? Well, let's start with your exceptions. Do you receive many requests for exceptions to the policy? And perhaps more importantly, do you approve those exceptions? Do those exceptions seem to fall into specific categories? And if so, which ones? Let me give you an example. If you repeatedly approve exceptions to extend temporary living, it may make sense to offer the option to extend without going through a long approval process and instead using the flex component of the program. Another example, if you have a number of employees with pets who want to bring them along and need assistance with the shipping costs, but these same employees don't need assistance with settling in services or maybe language instruction, flexible programs will allow choices that match the needs of the individual and their families who are relocated. Beyond metrics, though, it's vital to consider the culture of your company and the appetite for this sort of approach. There are, of course, pros and cons to a core flex program, and I do caution that core flex programs don't always bring cost savings. It's important to set clear expectations with senior leaders on how these programs work with all these pros and cons identified. It's also important to secure buy-in at all levels and all regions with clear guidelines on the components and consensus on the choice component before rolling out. They really must be monitored closely. These programs and the number of exceptions will likely be reduced, but you may find that you lose sight of what aspects of your program may need to be adjusted to meet employees' needs and still remain cost contained. Depending on who controls the flexibility, you may find you still have exceptions arising depending on those controls and the guardrails that you put in place. We've seen and we currently administer just about every iteration of a core flex program that you can think of. We have clients who allow choice in all three areas: the business, the global mobility team, and the employee. We have those where the choices lie within global mobility and the business working collaboratively. And we also have those that provide an element of choice to the employee, and everything else is core, decided by the global mobility team. Clearly, with choice at all three levels, there's a heavy administrative burden of having so many parties involved. But with clear guidelines and a defined process, these programs can be managed successfully. I can't say I have a favorite, but I do think it is vital that everyone has a clear understanding of the possibility of inequities arising when there are no clear guidelines and decisions are made without consideration of a possible precedent being set. This is where education on the program, clear guidelines, and the corporate culture come into play and are all critical to the success of the program. You can absolutely use your existing program. You will want to first take a look at your current offerings and see how they match up with actual utilization of the benefits. With our robust reporting capabilities, you can either run these reports yourself or work with your Weichert team to access this information. And from there, you can decide which items should remain core to the program and which ones can be transitioned to flexible components. In this exercise, together with your exception analysis, you may find it makes sense to add frequently requested exceptions as a flexible benefit. We have found that when managers and/or the global mobility team working in collaboration take the first pass at establishing the amount of flexible benefits, there's definitely more cost control, usually. But in very competitive industries, this isn't always the case. In fact, sometimes managers feel if they don't offer more flexibility, they may lose their most valuable candidates. So it is really important to do some high-level cost modeling of a few scenarios as you develop your program and determine which elements of your program will be flexible.